Call this meeting to order of the joint Lincoln County and Sioux Falls Planning Commissions. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, and the order of events tonight will be as follows. For each public hearing, staff will introduce the agenda item and present a summary of the staff report. The applicant will then be asked to explain their proposal in further detail and and to answer any questions from the Planning Commission members. I will then open the floor to public comment, first for the persons in support of the application, and then for the persons in opposition of the application. When you step up to the podium, please state your name, address, and speak clearly into the microphone. Speakers are encouraged to only address new and relevant information pertaining to the item. Above all, please be cordial to all meeting participants and refrain from side conversations and speaking out of turn, or you'll be asked to leave. Lastly, decisions on conditional use permit applications may be appealed to the County Board of Commissioners and the City Council by submitting a letter to the County Planning and Zone Office within 5 days. Everybody get that? Okay, good. All right, we will now do roll call. Commissioner Hogan.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Albers.
Here.
And Commissioner Jungling is here.
Good evening, City Commissioners. We'll call the roll on our side as well. Commissioner Paulson.
Here.
Commissioner Irvin.
Here.
Commissioner Norman.
Here.
Commissioner Kittams.
Here.
Commissioner Fisher.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
And I'm Commissioner Nyberg. We have a quorum on the city side.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll do approval of minutes. I believe everyone saw the minutes from last meeting. Do we have any changes, Lincoln County? Okay, with none, I will do roll call to approve. Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Albers,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jungling is also a yes.
City Commissioners, the minutes have been approved on the county side. Can I get a motion on the city side?
Move to approve, Irvin.
Second, Johnson.
I have a motion and a second. We'll also take a roll call vote. Commissioner Paulson.
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin.
Yes.
Commissioner Norman.
Yes.
Commissioner Kittams.
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
The minutes have been approved on the city side.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll do approval of the agenda. Mr. Brown, are any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. On the county side, I will do roll, or any discussion? All right, I'll do roll call to approve. Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Albers,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jungling is also yes.
City Commissioners, the agenda has been approved on the county side. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda on the city side?
Motion to approve Kittams. Second, Fisher.
Of a motion and a second, we'll also do a roll call vote. Commissioner Paulson,
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Norman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kittams,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
The agenda has been approved on the city side.
Thank you very much. All right, at this time, I will ask the public to come forward and speak on any agenda or items that are not on the agenda tonight. So if you have any concerns or anything you'd like to let us know about that's not on the agenda, please step forward. All right, seeing none, I'll close that to public input. And we will go to, is there any unfinished business, Mr. Brown?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Public hearings.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This first item is an application from Tom Winker. This is an application to rezone an approximate 71-acre parcel from the A1 Agricultural District to the RR Rural Residential District. Subject property is approximately 1,300 feet to the west of the intersection of 270th Street and 480th Avenue. It's also approximately 1.8 miles as a crow flies from the nearest city limits of the city of Sioux Falls. The applicant has submitted a concept plan or preliminary plan with the application that identifies that he will be, a second item on the agenda, to subdivide the property into approximately 25 lots for a rural residential or a single-family dwelling development. Subject property, as noted in the staff report, is outside of a tiered growth area for the city of Sioux Falls. It's identified as a rural area within the land use plan. And just a little clarification is that the land use plan, Shape Sioux Falls 2040, is the official land use plan for the joint jurisdictional boundary. So if you had a chance to read the staff analysis, I heavily plagiarized the comprehensive plan. But essentially, it's identified as a rural area. And staff also identified that this property is, again, outside of a tiered growth area. So services will be on septic systems, and rural water will be the service provider for this property. The property, as I also mentioned, is approximately 1,300 feet off of this intersection here. 270th Street is a township road, currently a gravel township road. And so also the property is approximately 1,000 feet as the crow flies from the it would be to the southwest of this property to the nearest rural residential zone property. So there is no adjacent property that is zoned rural residential. Finding in the staff analysis or the staff report was that the application is not consistent with the comprehensive plan or the land use plan. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Lincoln County, do you have any questions for staff?
Is there any other houses relatively close there?
There is what I would call an agricultural zoned single-family dwelling on a lot of record that is adjacent, just to the east of this property.
Okay.
This development over here again is what you would call a pre-lot of or a pre-density zoning with the county. These properties are not zoned. Again, the closest rural residential zone property would be this property to the southwest, about 1,000 feet.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Lincoln County, any other questions for staff? All right, seeing none, City of Sioux Falls?
City Commissioners, any questions for staff on this item? See none at this time.
Thank you much. With that, I will ask the applicant to come forward and talk a little bit more about their proposal.
Hi, my name is Tom Winker. I'm a builder, developer, real estate broker in Sioux Falls. I bought this property after seeing
Excuse me, Tom,
need.
can I get your address?
Oh, I'm
for the
sorry,
record.
it's 308 West Lotta Street in Sioux Falls, 57105.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, it's all good.
I pursued this property after seeing a need for the acreage buyers that we have all over, and this area seems to be one that is populated with a lot of that type of growth over the past 20 years. This area, according to my conversations with the city staff, in the tier growths, it's outside of the tier growths. It's been mentioned verbally as far as 2066 before sewer could reach this area if it ever does. The needs that I see are not the 1 acre parcels that we used to see with this rural development. So we've decided to go with 2 to 4 acre parcels. I believe it's a total of 2.88 acres per site is what we're proposing. And the homes would be dollar-wise, minimum $500,000, size-wise 1,700 square feet minimum. And they would all be stick-built on site. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Tom. Lincoln County, any questions for Tom?
Have you had any discussions with your township board in that area?
I've talked to the township, and they suggested getting back a hold of them after these meetings. I've talked to the rural water folks, similar contact, and the Southeastern Electric. Same thing, they want to talk after approval, but they're all aware of this zoning request.
Have you talked to any neighboring landowners and discussed it with them? on
I
a
have
private
called
basis, or-
most of them. There's a couple that I haven't been able to reach, One of them I see is here today. The farmer that farms this land, I believe, is here today. So they are represented here tonight.
Well, what did the township have to say about the roads? Because we're looking at, you know, a quarter of a mile of gravel. You know, you'll be looking at actually a half a mile of gravel you're gonna be running them cars on.
You know, he really didn't have much to say other than talking about culvert size and entrance. And the entrance would be to the eastern third of the piece of land at the high point of the elevation. And they would want to size the culvert accordingly. All the roads within the development would be paved and designed according to Lincoln County standards.
Have you thought of anything about blacktopping that half a mile of road?
We haven't got to that kind of discussion yet,
Okay,
but I assume it may come up.
okay. Because if you're looking at 25 homes, you're looking at 150, 200 more cars a day on that road.
Yeah, I believe that's the number they're talking, so I realize it may be a possibility, yes.
Yeah, okay. I have no more questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Getting back to the roads within your development, are you, homeowners association type, to fund taking care of those?
The
internal
road would
roads?
be either a road district or under a home ownership, home association. And I would lean towards the road district because that would be included with the taxable side of it. And you wouldn't be able to have one rogue homeowner holding out on it. So a road district would be my preference.
All right, you guys good? All right, City of Sioux Falls?
City Commissioners, any questions for Tom on this item? None at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay. At this point, I would ask anybody in favor of the proposal to come forward and speak. Okay, seeing none, I will ask anybody in opposition of the proposal to come forward and speak.
Randy Olson, 27059 480th Avenue, Harrisburg, South Dakota. I got the property just on the south end of this, and then I own a right-of-way all along the west side of this. And I'm kind of wondering where all the water's going. I got enough water coming down the way it is. You put all them houses in the Blacktop Road, and they can put in their ponds and do whatever they want. I'm gonna get a lot of water coming down my draws. I'm not too thrilled about that, and I don't like residential right next to me where with it's farmland, neighbors get along, I fix my half the fence or they fix their half. I got 5, 6 people along there and none of them know nothing about fencing for livestock and stuff. So I don't think we need development hodgepodge and jumping around and you have a dead end road here on every 80 acres. It's kind of going to make it pretty miserable when you deliver mail or UPS or whatever. Take them a lot longer to get the stuff delivered. And I don't believe we need that many people this far from, if Sioux Falls wants to develop, they're going to come out there eventually. But let them work their way out. Don't jump out here and jump over there and stuff. That's my opinion anyway.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys don't mind, I really apologize, it's unprofessional, but I'm going to send one text quick. My boy's in boot camp. And just try calling.
That might be acceptable.
Actually, I won't step out.
Yes.
How does
please
that
do.
work, Toby?
I think Sioux Falls should.
3-minute recess.
You know, we'll be all right. Hold on, sorry. All right. Anybody else in favor or in opposition that would like to speak?
Hello, my name is Briar Peterson. I live at 47979 270th Street. It's actually the property right, it's a little tiny one right next to it there. I'm right next to it, so, I mean, I'm not totally thrilled about this going up. I mean, I'm getting a development put on my lap. I built that house myself 4 years ago, and I never would have built it out there if I knew a bunch of homes were gonna get dropped right next to me. And I feel like people come out to this side of town, I don't know, to get away from Sioux Falls. This is countryside. There's a lot of wildlife out there. I just think we just keep taking away too much production area, and I just think it's hideous. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else that'd like to speak in opposition of the application?
My name's Mark Johnson. I've been farming that ground for quite a while. My address is 47898 269th Street. My issue with it is it's an awful flat piece of property. The water is gonna definitely be a problem. It will end up either having to run to the east or it'll have to run south. If it runs east, it's going to run into a pond that was just dug out by a fellow. I'm also a little concerned on the drain tile that is there already, that if it's disturbed, it could affect other farmers in the neighborhood. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there any other one, anybody else like to speak in opposition? Okay, with that, I will close the floor to public input. And then we'll ask for a motion to approve, and then we'll have our discussion. And we might ask Tom to come back and speak on some of the items that we had brought up today. Lincoln County, are there any motions?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the rezone for discussion purposes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
I'll second for discussion.
All right, motion second to discuss.
City Commissioners, just so you know, we spoke beforehand, we're gonna do a motion as well at this time. That way we can have discussion jointly. So can I get a motion from the Commissioner?
Motion to approve, Paulson.
Second, Fisher.
We have a motion and a second on the city side.
Thank you very much. All right, discussion.
Okay, I guess I can start with a couple things. I know this ground pretty well. I grew up just a mile and a half from there. It is a flat piece of ground. If the water, it is, I don't know where you'd go with the water. I think you probably should go to the south if it happened. And then you're dumping it on Mr. Olson's ground, if I remember right. And the gravel road is a big part I have. And then we got all these, we're gonna have 25, 30 septic tanks. They're gonna be dumping ground water in there. We've denied a few of these like this, sitting out, going out in the middle of of farm ground like this, taking a quarter and 80 out, trying to develop them, and we've denied them. I've been on this board for 12, 13 years, and we've denied quite a few of them that way, because it was set up similar to this. And they were, some of them, they were thinking about blacktopping the road or not, but I just look at it as a whole, and I think the ground is awful flat. And there's gonna be some water issues there. And we're fighting a couple, I farm some ground right now where they're developing ground by Harrisburg where they blocked a 10-inch tile and it's covering about 20 acres of ground and the developers will not do nothing about it. They look at me and laugh and says, take me to court. And that's not right at all. I do know there's tile out there. I don't know how much, but landowners know more than I do about that. So I just don't know if I just don't think it's good. We got 3, 4 landowners sitting right here that own ground around there, and they don't want it. So, good or bad or not, if it was right next to Sioux Falls or something, it would be a little different. But like he said, sewer wouldn't get out there for, I don't know when he said, many, many years. So, probably not in our lifetime. So I don't know, maybe that's telling us something right there too, that probably shouldn't be that many houses put in this area at this point in time. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Albers. Anyone else like to speak on this application? I want to remind everyone it is a rezone, not the housing plat yet, but the rezone.
But it would probably lead to it.
Right, yep.
Could I ask Toby a question? Excuse me. You said this rezone would be inconsistent with the current comprehensive plan. Could you give us a little more detail around that?
Yes. So the areas identified outside of a tiered growth area, it's identified as a rural area, so there is really no land use identification for it because it's outside of the future growth area, or the 20-year growth area of the city. In addition, there's a number of policies in the comprehensive plan that talks about what I would call premature development, the impact of then the city trying to annex these properties. If you, in the next item, a number of city agencies identified a lot of the development would be inconsistent with future annexation, that the water, the sewer, the roads would not be consistent with that. Secondary is that in a rural area, the really, I'll say from the county's guiding policy would be that we have density zoning, 1 per quarter, because we'd like to preserve farmland and agricultural land and things like that. And corresponding is that the city's comprehensive plan discusses low density type zoning, which, I've discussed it with city staff, is that we would interpret that to be the 1 per quarter, which there is one building eligibility on this property that could be developed in accordance with that. So beyond that, the analysis that we put a number of policies in the comprehensive plan really identify that this is really outside of the development. And as you're aware, earlier this year, we did rezone property to rural residential just to the north of this, but that was what I would call a however. The however is that there was adjacent existing rural residential zoning to that property. Still saying that it was against the comprehensive plan, but we looked at impact character of the surrounding area to identify and recommend that those properties should be rezoned. So hopefully that answered your question. I guess there's a lot of policies that staff reviewed and really anticipated that this is really outside of the consistency of the comprehensive plan for this application.
Thank you.
Further discussion, commissioners, on the city side?
I have another question for Toby. Is there something that would make it more viable to the comprehensive plan? Like if the plots were bigger and there was less homes, but maybe still a residential option, or?
I would say no. I really think that it's in general the land use part of it, not so much the number of lots or those kind of things, just the general land use part of it. What I would say is that yesterday city staff came down and presented to our county commission, which you guys might be aware of, is that the city's done a southeast sewer study that covers essentially this area. And the city is really advancing plans to develop infrastructure to service essentially all 9,000 acres of the remaining joint jurisdictional area. I think if they proceed with amending the comprehensive plan to identify some of those areas and some of those land uses, some of those timelines could be bumped up, I think you would see more favorability to this type of development in that area if services were available at this time.
Are there any plans, like preliminary plans for the drainage?
Yes, yep, item number 2, there is a submittal for that.
And does it show that there's ample drainage where it's not running onto other properties, or what? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so what's been submitted so far is preliminary, which is essentially just existing drainage flows and some of those items. And the developer's engineer is here to talk a little bit more in detail about that. But at the construction development, final plan stages is when we would really look at calculations and look at more detention and meeting those requirements. There was a comment from city engineering in there about how that we would policy-wise would make sure that it doesn't cause undue burden onto the adjacent property owners. So at this stage, the plans probably, they're not shown in great detail, but they later would be.
Yes, go ahead.
I guess I also have a little concern about the gentleman that spoke about the right-of-way that he has on this, for this property for some of his agricultural use. I mean, I know those things are things that come out and can be worked on later, but I think that's maybe also an issue that was brought to the board that we need to look at. And anytime we go, and put these developments out, we also add undue burden to the county and for things like, the sheriff's department, since the city police wouldn't have the jurisdiction, and fire. I think as a board, we probably need to figure out where some of our new development is gonna come as Lincoln County does continue to grow, because it would seem better to push a lot of this within the municipalities that we've talked about before.
And on my end, I'm sustained growth. It's so much better for a city to expand from the existing borders rather than to try to expand into existing islands. You can never get a septic tank to hook up, or a water, or even roads. And like was mentioned before, the stress on our roads, our emergency responders, that's kind of an island out here, if you ask me. So yeah, I'm going to be a solid no on this one.
Further discussion on the city side, commissioners? Anybody have any comments? Seems no further discussion on the city side.
All right, thank you. Lincoln County side, any further discussion? All right, no further discussion. I will do roll call on the motion to approve. So we can say yes to approve, or we can say no to the motion to approve. So, you're waiting for me, aren't we? Commissioner Hogan,
No.
Commissioner Johnson,
No.
Commissioner Albers,
No.
and Commissioner Jungling is also a no.
City Commissioners, the item has failed on the county side. I remind you that we have a motion in favor of the item. So we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on this item as well. So if you are in favor, signify by saying yes. Commissioner Paulson?
No.
Commissioner Urban?
No.
Commissioner Norman?
No.
Commissioner Kiddams? No. Commissioner Fisher?
No.
Commissioner Johnson?
No.
That item has failed on the city side.
Thank you very much. Mr. Brown, item 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this next item is accompanying that application. So the applicant did submit a preliminary subdivision plan for the 25 lots of the subject property. Again, subject property is approximately 71 acres in size. Subject property is currently zoned A1 agricultural. And so the preliminary plan identifies, again, that there would be a means of access off of 270th Street to the north, which again is a township road. The applicant did identify preliminarily that there would be detention on the west and east sides of the property. Both of these would be detention ponds that would discharge onto the adjacent property to the south. Again, those drainage calculations have not been completed as of date. We typically do those in the final development plans. To summarize the staff analysis, this application is submitted directly to the City of Sioux Falls staff. And so their staff reviews the application, and their staff has identified that the major items have been submitted in accordance with their requirements. Again, some of the direct comments which we did include in the staff analysis from specifically engineering was that this application is outside of a tiered growth area. It's a rural growth area. And so again, the services would not be city services. They would be rural services. Those services would not be in conformance with the City of Sioux Falls standards upon annexation. But staff, again, in the analysis, identified that this application is not in conformance with the land use plan, which is Shape Sioux Falls 2040. With that, be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Lincoln County, any questions for staff?
This is just a preliminary deal that he submitted to you.
No, it gets submitted to the City of Sioux Falls.
We've only got one road in and out. The other road dumps onto a farmer's place. The only road we got is up heading out to the north. For fire and all that stuff, I don't see how that could, unless you could talk to the adjacent landowner to putting a road in over there to the Oil Road over there. That just got one entrance in and out. I don't see how they could even put something like that in there. That's what it is. I mean,
Yep.
it's a preliminary, yeah, I know, but
Yep. So I'll answer that question. If it was under our jurisdiction, we do require that there would be additional ingress and egress to the property. This is under the Sioux Falls ordinance requirements. And so it does show that there would be future stub to a potential future right-of-way. But again, at this stage, it does not have additional ingress and egress.
and the water running down to the south there, you're dumping a lot of water onto that landowner down there. He stood up and talked about that. The only way that would work is if he actually took that water all the way down to Spring Creek down there, or down to that creek. I mean, there's holding ponds there, but I know that is. You get a 3-inch rain and the holding ponds are full, you get another 2-inch rain, and it all runs right onto the farmer, so. I mean, these are just preliminary plans, but, or that's what I call them anyway, but whoever drew that up, I don't think really was looking at the people around that 80 acres of ground. I can see that. The engineer who drew that up is not too good. That's all I have.
Thank you. Lincoln County, any other additional questions for staff?
City Commissioners, any questions for staff tonight on this item? Seeing none at this time.
Thank you. With that, I will ask the applicant to go forward and speak farther on their application.
Again, the name is Tom Winker. The design of this was done in accordance and by the request of the city council for future city plans, how it would be incorporated into. Any building that would be done in there would be built for future hookup when utilities would come. I've done other developments, and that's almost an automatic thing that you do. Prepare it for the future. As far as the drainage issues, we have an engineer here. He can get up and address those issues. My understanding is farmland does drain water. When you develop, you put in retention ponds to slow that down and to clean up that drainage water from carrying silt downstream. Again, the final calculations haven't been done, but I asked them to engineer it with enough to make sure that it was more than sufficient. And I'll let John Dressen from the engineering firm speak on that. As far as the access, I was informed that it was anything under 30 lots required one entrance, but the city staff did want access to other developments should they get developed at some point. So we have two on this design. And we didn't go to the third one on the west because Mr. Olson owns I believe it's a 27 or 33-foot right-of-way there. And we didn't know how that would work to cross a 33-foot right-of-way to the next property owner, who I don't believe is represented here tonight. So I'll let Mr. Dressen mention the drainage issues and answer any questions on that.
Thank you, Tom.
Are there any questions
Or
for
any
me?
questions for Tom?
Questions for Tom, commissioners? None.
Hello, my name is John Deasons. I live at 1403 East 63rd Street in Sioux Falls. I'm a civil engineer with JSA Engineers. I drew up these preliminary plans. So basically, this property drains from north to south generally. It does have about 20 feet of vertical fall across the property. So it's an average of 1% slope or so existing. And we do have two ponds in the southwest and the southeast corners, which we believe are oversized for what's proposed. We would do the design calculations for runoff and be sure after the post-development would have less or the same or less runoff as existing runoff. That analysis would be reviewed by the city of Sioux Falls since it's within their joint jurisdiction. And basically the two ponds empty into the bottoms of existing ravines. So it would be the same place that it empties to now after it's developed, so. That's the basic design of the drainage. If you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, John. Lincoln County, any questions for?
Are them detention or retention ponds?
We have them as detention ponds.
Okay. Then explain what's the difference between the two of them.
Well, these detention ponds collect the runoff. If there's any additional runoff, it slows the rate of release to be at or less than existing. So we're not keeping it in there forever just by evaporation, and there is an outlet. So it's detained, is why it's a detention pond.
What about one way in and one way out? With a fire, I just don't agree with that at all. I don't care what
Yeah.
the rules are. I
we-
wouldn't vote for anything like that. The only second way out is onto a farm. I
Yeah,
believe that's a farmer's field
right.
for fire and fire emergency, and that's one issue that is here. You got a rural fire department and all volunteers and that stuff, and,
Yeah, we
you know.
we drew up the street layout based on Sioux Falls guidance, but if it's preferred, we probably could extend that cul-de-sac that goes to the northwest up to the street to have two accesses onto 270th Street if that's preferred. That would be an easy enough change.
Yeah, that would look a lot better to me, but.
Okay,
Okay, yep, that's it.
other commissioners, you guys have any questions?
City commissioners, any questions? None at this time.
All right, Thank you, John.
Yep.
All right, at this time, I will ask anybody in favor of the application to come forward and speak. All right, seeing none. At this time, anyone in opposition of the application, I will ask them to come forward and speak.
Again, Randy Olson, 27059 480th Avenue, Harrisburg, South Dakota. On the property there to the south, how deep are those retention ponds gonna be? The one to the east, where their line is right in the bottom of the draw. How deep are they gonna build that up and then dig out further to the west to make that work? I don't see how that's gonna work. It's just putting a dam on the creek to let it overflow. And the other one, they're gonna have to dig a pretty darn good big hole to make that one work. The way the land lays. It's a little bit lower there than a lot of the land. There's a little draw that runs through it, but it ain't, it's gonna be a big hole.
Okay, well, we can ask that, we'll ask that question.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Was there anybody else in opposition of the application who'd like to speak? Okay, seeing none, I will close the floor to public comment. I think we'll ask for our motions and follow the same as we did last time, and then we can ask some questions. So at that time, I will ask Lincoln County for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we table this application.
Okay, we have a motion to table. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second to table.
City Commissioners, we have a motion to table the item. Do you have any sort of motion on the city side?
Mr. Chair, I could make a comment to the county folks. What would be the purpose to table this?
Being as we failed the rezone, if it was approved by the larger county commission, and if we approved, if they went to the county commission to appeal, and if they approved the rezone, then if we would approve the application, then it would basically put the application back at our meeting, and hopefully we'd have some feedback from the county commission on, and if they don't approve the rezone, then it's a moot point.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to table the item.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second on the city side to table.
Okay, let's have some discussion. First, let's ask John, I believe, about the question about the depth of the detention pond.
Would it be possible to go to the last page? Yeah, and this one.
Excuse me, John, can you do your name and address?
Yeah,
please?
my name is John Deasons, 1403 East 63rd Street, Sioux Falls.
Thank you.
On this drawing, north is to the left, and so those two ponds are labeled how they would fit in there. The one on the southwest, or the bottom of the page, we have it at between elevations 1360 to 1368, so it would be 8 feet of depth from top to bottom of the pond. It wouldn't hold that much water all of the time, but it's shown how it would fit in there and then overflow into the ravine to the right of it on the drawing. And then similar, the pond on the top of the page is from 1360 at the bottom to 66 at the top, or 6 feet deep. And then that outlets at the corner into a ravine going south from there.
Okay, thank you, John. Since you're up here, commissioners, do we have any questions for John?
What's the depth like on the the field to the east there, like along that. Is that 100 or that 138 or 13.8? What is that? It's,
The dash lines are the existing contours.
well,
Yeah.
how they're gonna turn out, because up, you got the ditch running up there on the top of that page, you got
Right.
that ditch running there, so water will go to that and there. What about the other half there? Is that water supposed to go that way?
Yeah, although the water will be captured in that pond, it won't get over, there's actually kind of a berm built up before the boundary of the property.
Okay, is a berm built up all the way along there?
Yeah,
All the way up to that gravel road about, right?
right.
All right,
I'm talking from that gravel road heading back to that first road there on the top of that drawing, that first quarter mile there, or what? Cause some of that water is gonna kinda go to the east there onto that other farm ground if there's not something to take that water to the south.
Yeah, it's all going to the south. It isn't gonna make it over to the east.
okay,
Can I respond to that?
thank you. I think we've already had our input from anyone, so it's a specific
It
question.
was just on that question on the water to the east. The fence line has a natural ridge to it, and everything does flow to the south and to the west from the fence line.
Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioners, any further questions? Thank you, John. Or discussion?
Further discussion on the city side on this item, Commissioners?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to ask Toby and Fletcher a question. The recommendation indicates that the staff finds that the preliminary subdivision plan is not consistent with the land use plan. So if it was to be tabled, what happens to that recommendation?
So I think how we would do this is we wouldn't bring forward the application to the board. It would just sit here, and depending on what the Board of Commissioners do, we would notify, and the city council does, we would notify them that it's been tabled. And if it's approved, we would have to come back here to get it reviewed. But I guess if it's tabled, we would have to essentially discuss it at a future time too.
Bring it back before the.
Yeah, so, yeah, yeah.
With that, Mr. Browning said that, then it would be re-advertised and would go through the process again if it comes back?
No, I think we closed the public hearing, so we wouldn't advertise a public hearing again. It would just be old business on the February agenda.
Understood, thank you. All right, any further discussion on any of the commissioners?
Further discussion, Commissioners? None on the city side.
All right, for myself, I'm going to vote against the table, and then depending how it goes, I might make a motion to approve and then vote no to deny. I guess would be my personal feeling is, just there's, depending on the plan, the house layouts and all that, it's still flat ground, that retention ponds, and I know I understand all that, but that's a lot of field that's not gonna be used anymore. It's gonna be a lot of asphalt. I guess not a lot of asphalt, but yards, houses, drainage. And I know we've had this argument, this discussion a few times with other lots and all that, but I'm gonna be a no on this.
Further discussion? No further discussion on the city side.
I guess.
Oh, Commissioner Albers.
I live over by the T intersection there off the interstate, and we've done a lot of these, not here, but closer into the cities and that stuff. And it seems like we have a lot of water issues all the time on all, and, I mean, they're more in by municipalities and that stuff to where the drainage is supposed to work a lot better. And we got, I know the county's been sued a few times on different things with water issues that I sat up here and knew they were not gonna work. And they never did work, not the way the engineers talk. The big thing they have is water. They don't figure enough rain per day. We start getting these 3-4 inch rains, they figure 1 inch per so many hours, and it just doesn't work that way. And the other thing is, if you went by the rain that we're getting, you couldn't build anything because you couldn't engineer it. You couldn't get the water away fast enough. So it's kind of a two-edged sword. But we, in Lincoln County, I know and I'm sure with Sioux Falls too, there's situations where water is getting to be a big issue on different things. So, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I will just go out and say that,
Commissioner Hogan?
I will just go out and say that with this already not being consistent with the land use, and the issues with the one entrance and whether he'll fix it or not, and the drainage, affecting other properties, and it being so far out of Sioux Falls and gonna be so long before Sioux Falls gets there, I do think that, yeah, I won't vote in favor of this.
Thank you.
Just one other thing, I guess the reason I would probably also be against this, but being that we failed the rezone, the one positive I think of tabling the issue would be if it does win an appeal from the city of Sioux Falls and the county, it will come back in front of our board, and then we can put conditions on it, such as exits, lots, number of lots, those kinds of things. That was my only, I mean, I guess we've heard concerns, and I think if, should it get an appealed rezone, with us voting on it, it would take any conditions that we would want to put on it down the road out of our hands, but, so that was my intent, I guess.
And yes, Mr. Brown.
So Fletcher and I were just talking, and I'll first start by saying neither one of us are legal counsel, so we defer to that part of it. But so the preliminary plan has to be approved by both the Planning Commission and the Board of Commissioners. So if you denied it tonight and it went forward and the City Council and the County Board of Commissioners approved it, it would have to come back to you for approval, would be our understanding of it.
So a preliminary subdivision has to come back in front of us, but a rezone does not.
Correct, because you're just a recommending body for the rezone, but on a preliminary plan, you're required to sign off on the plan.
Okay, I didn't realize.
So I
that.
think,
Sorry.
and I would say, again, we're kind of rolling with it here a little bit, but I think the way we would look at it is if both planning commissions denied it tonight, we would argue that it should be brought back to you, even if it's approved by the City Council and the Board of Commissioners, because it would need to be approved by you as well. So that's an option. But I understand completely what you're saying too, as far as you're concerned that if it does get approved, you want to make sure that your concerns are addressed too, so.
All right, before we take a roll call, any further discussion? Yeah, I apologize, we already did input, so thank you. No, excuse me, sir, I'm sorry. We already had your discussion, so no, thank you. No, thank you. I do understand, but those are rules we follow. All right, commissioners, there's no further discussion. Lincoln County is going.
Real quick, any further discussion, city commissioners, just to make sure? None on the city side. Thank you.
Okay, thank
So
you.
this is just a table.
So we will vote to table. If we all say yes, it'll be tabled for another meeting. If we all say no, and then there's no on the table, so then we can take another motion to approve and or deny. Is that correct? Okay. So I'll do roll call on the motion to table. Commissioner Hogan,
No.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Albers,
No.
Commissioner Jungling's also a no.
City Commissioners, the motion to table has failed on the county side, but we do have a motion to table on the floor on the city side. Any further discussion on that? Again, the motion is in favor of tabling. Commissioner Paulson,
No.
Commissioner Irvin,
No.
Commissioner Norman,
No.
Commissioner Kidams,
No.
Commissioner Fisher,
No.
Commissioner Johnson.
No.
The motion to table has failed on the city side also.
Thank you. With that, I'll ask the Lincoln County side to make a motion to approve and or deny, and then we can have discussion after that again.
I'll make a motion to deny.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to deny. City of Sioux Falls?
Commissioners, the motion is to deny. Just for clarification purposes, City of Sioux Falls Commission asks that the motion is in the affirmative. So if I could get a motion for approval, just for the sake of discussion, I would appreciate that.
Move to approve the item for discussion, Johnson.
Second, Norman.
Thank you. We have a motion that's passed on the city side.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, we have motions on both sides. Any further discussion on the motions?
Further discussion, city side? None at this time.
Thank you. All right, we'll do roll call on Lincoln County side. Now, the motion is to deny, so a yes would be approve the denial, and no would be deny the denial. All right, Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Albers,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jungley is also a yes.
Commissioners, the item has failed on the county side. We have a motion to approve for discussion purposes. Any further discussion? Just as a reminder, a vote yes is to approve of the item, a vote no is to deny the item. So if no further discussion, we'll take a vote. Commissioner Paulson,
No.
Commissioner Irvin,
No.
Commissioner Norman,
No.
Commissioner Kidams,
No.
Commissioner Fisher,
No.
Commissioner Johnson.
No.
The item has failed on the city side.
Thank you very much. And I do want to remind the applicant that you do, on the rezone, you can appeal the decision to the County Board of Commissioners and the City Council by submitting a letter to the County Planning and Zoning Office within 5 business days. Mr. Brown?
I'll jump in there on that one. So this is the two items tonight. That first is an application to change the zone. Tonight, both bodies, Planning Commission, made a recommendation. It automatically goes to the joint meeting of the elected officials. And that will be sometime, I'm guessing next month, January 25th, I believe. And so I'll also make that announcement to those in attendance as well, too, is because on that meeting, we won't send out direct notice like we did for this meeting, but we will post the property. But if there's any questions about that, please contact our office. The second item as well is not appealable. It's just, it'll go directly as an agenda item to the joint elected officials. So,
Yeah, I apologize. I said that wrong, so yes.
Toby, what time is that on January 26th? Is that during the,
7 o'clock, and I shouldn't say it, or the 25th at 7 o'clock. And we rotate, and I don't recall if we're gonna go up there, they'll come down here yet, so, but that'll be noticed, it'll be noticed.
okay.
Okay, that for now, any new business, Mr. Brown?
None, Mr. Chairman, and I usually announce we'll have an application for next month, but there's no applications for next month, so this board will not be convening next month, so.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll do a roll call for adjournment. Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Oh, wait, we need to make a motion. to
I'll
adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second Elder's.
Motion and second to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will do a roll call. Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Albers,
Yes.
Commissioner Jungling is also a yes.
Commissioners, the county is adjourned. Can I get a motion to adjourn on the city side?
Motion to adjourn, Johnson.
Second, Fisher.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Paulson,
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Norman,
Yes.
Commissioner Kiddams,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
We are adjourned on the city side.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody that came, and thank you for your time.